Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tent of Abraham. I'm Tamir Kreisman from Jerusalem, Israel. And we continue with Calling All Jews. This one's a special one. I gave a rendition of this about a year ago. It was kind of out of the book. It was late. I was tired. It had to be given, but here's an updated version. So this one is called The Fire of Judah. So every now and then, we need a pick-me-up. Something to strengthen our faith that is already being stretched thin considering how dark the world has become. Anyone with half a brain and eyes to see can see clearly that it's not going to get any better, in the traditional sense anyway. What I mean by this is that the worse it gets, the more difficult it is to keep from one losing one's mind despite having an idea even of what is going on. Our last Calling All Jews teaching managed to rattle more than a few cages. And believe me, I got everyone's 2 cents from across the board. I'm not speaking of those who this is not relevant to. I'm speaking of my fellow Jews. Hence the title of the series, Calling All Jews. I can tell you right now, I have no regrets whatsoever about the teaching and what was said with regarding to the truth about Zionism and its perception in the world today. The purpose of the teaching was to expose the falsities and the lies by telling the truth, expelling the darkness by shining the light, not ignoring it because it's uncomfortable to hear, because it is, not being hush-hush about it because I care what the nations think. It's the truth and it needs to be told. I'm not here to appease anyone, to baby anyone, or to speak softly to anyone. I don't do the there, just continue to live your life without change. God knows your heart. Don't worry about it. Everything will be okay. It's not going to help anybody. We have in Ezekiel the responsibilities of the watchman to sound the alarm when he sees danger, is coming. For if he does not warn his people, their blood will be on his hands. Today, we are all watchmen and kids. Danger is coming. Not only is it coming, it's already here. And if I thought standing on the roof with a bullhorn would make any more of an impact than a YouTube video, I'd be that guy. And these things need to be said publicly, not for the sake of every fool with an opinion, but for the sake of those who actually need to hear it. Remember this: no amount of building something good will remove something bad. This is the equivalent of the foundations of a skyscraper, let's say, that are rotten to the core, infested with termites and rust, water leaks and exposed wires, all covered up by paint jobs and extravagant balconies. Who cares what color you're going to paint the second bedroom? The whole thing is about to collapse. The only way to fix it, the only way to fix what is actually wrong, is to address it, and in this case, is to expose it. Ecclesiastes 12:14, for every deed God will bring to judgment, for every hidden thing, whether good or bad. If it's going to happen anyway, right? But if God is the one that is going to do it, you do not want to be on the receiving end of that. Pleading ignorance gets you out of nothing, especially if you choose to be ignorant. This is your choice to correct what was by acknowledging what actually is. This is a situation, and what is broken. The sooner we as a people can realize this, instead of putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone, we can actually tend, mend, and heal. Don't we want to heal, right? The system is broken. It is by design to divide us, to make us weak, to keep us preoccupied, turn us against each other, to make sure that even if we want to acknowledge God, we won't have a moment to do so. Their tactics, none of this is new. I'm not just blowing smoke. This is actually biblical. It happened before. When? Right before the first redemption, back in Egypt, Exodus 6:9. Moses spoke thus to the children of Israel. Moses, the Redeemer, is there. It's time. Here's the time, kids. Get ready. There's a last push. But they did not hearken to Moses because of their shortness of breath and because of their hard labor. Mikotze ruach u'me'avodah kasha. We know that this is a terrible translation. From a lack of cultivating a spiritual relationship with God because of the daily grind placed upon them. Who today is not in a daily grind? We can't be disconnected from our screens wherever we go, whatever we do. We're being fed information. Most of it is information we couldn't care less about, but it's a cute dog doing flips. I'll watch that in the meantime. And more and more. Shabbat's really the only time we turn everything off. And so, my fellow Jews and Noahide family, let us learn from past errors. Let us uncover the sins of our fathers so we may seek redemption even for them. By shining the light on the darkness has nowhere to hide. Don't just ignore it. Do not be ashamed of who you are and where you come from. All good things come from questionable beginnings. This is according to God's design. So the Sitra Achar will have nothing to say, no accusations, objections, nor prosecutions. Let the darkness, whose days are numbered in the world today, think that it's going to get away with everything, that everything is going its way, and in the meantime, our job, each of us as individuals and as a nation, we have to focus on our collective light. And so, here's a message of hope. We are alive in the most incredible time in the history of the world, the final generation working on the final rectification. More prophecies keep on manifesting. I don't have time to write it down as fast as everything is coming into play almost every day. We're just reading prophecies. Things are happening all over the place. So thank God I'm not the only one doing these videos, right? It would seem, according to all the signs, all the numbers, all the calculations, that this is it. That we're in the time, that long-awaited time of that long night that has finally come to an end. But we also know, as a matter of fact, that it's always darkest before the dawn. That's not just another cliche. But like we've said, what is coming is inevitable. There is only one way to the light, only one single way, and that is through the darkness. But don't worry, this won't last. As said in Micah 7:8, rejoice not against me, mine enemy. Although I have fallen, I will rise. Although I sit in darkness, the Lord is light to me. Adonai Oli. From the pressing and pressure of coal comes out a diamond. From the straits I called to God. God answered me with a vast expanse. I know it's scary, believe me, but this is absolutely necessary to get through to the other side. And so every year, right before Hanukkah, the festival of lights, we are given such a loving reminder that God is always with us, even if it seems like an endless night. And that is from Parshat Vayeshev, this last week's Parsha, always before Hanukkah, the story of Yehudah and Tamir, the line of kings, of Mashiach, and the final redemption in great mercy. From Genesis 38:1, now it came about at that time that Yehudah descended, Vayhi ba'etahi vayered Yehudah. That time is this time, because we, Judah, messed up. We tried to get by based on our own understanding, try to do things our own way. Our brothers looked to us. We led them astray. And so for almost 2,700 years, especially over the last 2,000 years, we have been the doormat of the nations, the butt of so many jokes, the victims of hate and receivers of violence. As we can see, it's only getting worse. And there Judah saw the daughter of a merchant named Shua, and he took her and came to her. We took foreign wives in the hopes that perhaps if we live like the nations, they will accept us and all would be right. Perhaps we can, somehow, live a normal and ordinary life. But if you know anything, the life of a Jew is supposed to be anything but normal. We possess the Lion of Kings. Now, Tamar, she knew this, which is why she said what she did was for the sake of heaven, because she was no ordinary woman. She was the daughter of a king and the first priest to the Most High God. She was the daughter of Shem. The last letters of her name, Taf Mem Resh, Bat Shem HaBechol. Sorry, the last letters of these words, Bat Shem HaBechol, the daughter of Shem, the elder. Rabbi Yonatan ben Uziel writes this from 38:6. And Judah took a wife for Er, his eldest, the daughter of the great Shem, and her name was Tamar. And how did Shem become a priest? If y'all don't know this, Noah became lame in the ark after the lion struck him, and a lame person cannot give an offering to God. So Noah taught his son Shem how to give offerings, and at that time he was known throughout the world as Kohen, priest, right? Kohen. He was known as a Kohen who gave offerings to the Most High God, because he was the first and only one to do it after they exited the ark. I know it said Noah, but Noah taught his son Shem to do it. He also carried the title of Melchizedek, my king is righteousness, who gave that title to Abraham, who gave it to Isaac, who gave it to Jacob, who gave it to Judah. And because of Judah, our dip, the kingship reemerged down the road with David. That's why we have Mashiach ben Yosef and not Mashiach ben Yehuda. The son of Yehuda, way down the road, is David, hence Mashiach ben David. Okay, but it shall not depart from Judah. We know this. The kingship reemerged down the road with David, but the line of kings chosen by God is exclusive to Judah. As he was told by his father Jacob, Israel, upon his deathbed from Genesis 49:10, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the student of the law from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him will be gathered all peoples. After Tamar did what she did, Judah did what he did, and God did what he did. Now it came about after nearly 3 months that it was told to Yehudah, saying, your daughter-in-law Tamar has played the harlot, and behold, she is pregnant from harlotry. So Judah said, bring her out and let her be burned. Why did she need to be burned? Because that is the law for a daughter of a priest. Should she play the harlot, as said by Yonatan ben Uziel from 38:24? For she is a priest's daughter; she must be burned. Again, read Leviticus 22 about the laws of the priest's daughter. He continues, Tamar was brought forth to be burned, and she searched for the 3 pledges, the signs that Judah gave her, but found them not. Uplifting her eyes to the heavens above, she thus said, mercy I implore from you, O Lord. Answer me in this hour of need, and enlighten my eyes to find the 3 witnesses, and I will dedicate unto you from my loins 3 tzaddikim, 3 righteous, who shall sanctify your name, and descend to the furnace of fire in the plain of Dura. In that hour, the Holy One, blessed be He, said to Michael, the archangel, who enlightened her eyes, that she found the signs and took and cast them before the feet of the judges, and said, the man to whom these pledges belong is he by whom I am with child. Now, mind you, Tamar was so righteous that she was ready to be burned at the stake rather than embarrass Judah. That's why she used that language, whoever these belong to. I don't know. She didn't say him. He did it. He's my baby daddy. No, that is not what she said. She turned her eyes to God, trusted no man. Yet though I may be burned, I do not make him manifest. Nevertheless, the Lord of the world will cause him in his heart to acknowledge them, and will deliver me from this great judgment. Listen to this next part, my fellow Jews, because there will come a time in our lives when we must face the truth like men and take responsibility for what has transpired, for what we did, for what our forefathers did. That is what will set us apart from all the rest. Now, when Yehudah saw them, he recognized them and said in his heart, it is better for me to be ashamed in this world that passes away than be ashamed in the faces of my righteous fathers in the world to come. It is better that I burn in this world by fire that is extinguished than burn in the world to come by fire, devouring fire. For measure is set against measure. This is how God deals with his creation, midah keneged midah. How? When she said, recognize these, right? This is according to what, to that which I said to Jacob, my father, recognize the robe of your son, Joseph. So am I now constrained to hear that the place of judgment, whose are this seal and mantle and staff? And Yehuda acknowledged and said, Tamar is innocent. She is with my child. And the bat kol from heaven came, Yatzta bat kol, a voice from heaven came and said, from before me was this thing done, meaning God said, I did this whole thing to bring about this point, and let both be delivered from judgment. Because there was full tshuva, recognition of sin, admission of guilt, taking responsibility for whatever the outcome may be. And Yehuda said, because I gave her not to Shelah my son, has this happened to me? But he added not to know her again. In other words, it was just for that time that needed to be. All this was planned by God, and that was that. She was taken out. And she sent forth from her father-in-law, saying, from the man to whom these belong, I am pregnant. And she said, please recognize whose signet, ring, cloak, and staff are these. Then Judah recognized them, and he said, she is right. Tzadka mimeni. There's two ways to read it. Tzadka, tzedek, is righteousness, but liot tzodek, to be right, they also say that tzadka mimeni, from me. In other words, she is more righteous than me, or she is right and I am wrong, or tzadka, she is correct, kama mimeni. That's mine, that's from me. Okay? It is from me because I did not give her to my son Shelah, but he no longer continued to be intimate with her. So that's what the verses say. This is a story that we all must know, which is inspirational within itself. But the next part of this story is one that we should also all know. From the words of the Bat Ayin and the Holy Ari, regarding the verse 24, now it came about after nearly 3 months, this verse we're talking about. The Ari said, the main time of the end of the Chatimah is in Hanukkah. What does this mean what does he mean by this, the end of the Chatimah? What does the final Chatimah, the final judgment that has been passed for the year, have to do with Hanukkah? As we know, the day of judgment is Rosh Hashanah, right? It's known as the Day of Judgment. Then we have the Day of Atonement. That is Yom Kippur. That is when, we do the Chatimah, right? So when we finish our 25-hour day of fasting and prayer, it concludes with the Ne'ilah prayer. Ne'ilah means locked. Signed, sealed, not yet delivered though. That's the point. But the judgment is delayed from being executed in the world, meaning to, let's say, the day right after Yom Kippur, because God will always give us time to correct. It's like, okay, have the couriers bring the judgment to there, right? But until that happens, there's still time to correct. And so we learn that the ptakim, the notes, the orders only may come down to the world, metaphorically speaking, on the last night of Sukkot around 2:30 to 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we go for Hoshana Rabbah, right? This is the culmination of all of Sukkot. This is because God wishes to give us the extra time to spend with Him in our Sukkah for 7 days. Think about all the merit we get for that extra week over there. So He adds this tremendous mitzvah to help us reflect positively on the year to come, the judgment rather. But now the Ari comes and makes an incredible statement. The majority of the judgment is held until Hanukkah. Remember, what happened exactly on the day after these notes were delivered, on the day of Simchat Torah, started the whole balagan that's in the world today, right? That was October 7th. That was Simchat Torah. That was right after the Ptakim came out, and yet still it was judgment delayed. Until when? Until Hanukkah. Why? The Ari, like we said, he says something incredible. The majority of the judgment is held until Hanukkah on the 3rd month, which is Kislev, instead of concluding on the 1st month, which is Tishrei Cheshvan Kislev. All this so we can still do more tshuva, change and correct our ways to sweeten the judgments. And why specifically Hanukkah? You're going to love this. In these verses, it is hinted, now it came about after nearly 3 months, meaning from Rosh Hashanah to Hanukkah. When the accuser, the Satan, comes before the creator of all the worlds, which is hinted in the name Yehudah, the creator of all the worlds, right? That it was told to Yehudah. Who was it that told? Okay, who is it that accused? The name Yehudah. Yehudah has a letter name of God in it. Yud Ke Vav Ke with Dalet. Dalet is also Delet, door to God. Just hinting that Judah is like a doorway to God. But it was told to Yehudah, alluding to God, saying, your daughter-in-law Tamar has played the harlot. This is obviously an accusation by the accuser. The words in Hebrew are Zanta Tamar Kalatecha. The word Kala means daughter-in-law, but also bride. And who is God's bride but Knesset Israel? The fullness, the gathering of Israel. Like we said, not the fake Knesset, the real Knesset. It's ironically named that, right? Because that causes division. This is unification. Who is also known as Tamar from Song of Songs 7:8. This, your stature, is like a palm tree. Tamar, zot komatech damta le Tamar, from Song of Songs. Isaiah 62:5. And the rejoicing of the bridegroom over a bride. Kala, shall your God rejoice over you. So we see Tamar and Kala, the bride of God, one and the same. So the adversary comes to God and says about Israel, they played the harlot. They have betrayed you. They have forgotten your ways, and they followed after their own lusts. But not only did they follow their own hearts. And behold, she is pregnant from harlotry. V'gam hina hara liznunim. This shows that she clearly made her choice. Of her own accord, no one made her do any of these things. But now she has cleaved, hara, pregnant, meaning to cleave, to this rebellion. And she's got something to show for it as well. Here is the undeniable proof. Your bride has clearly strayed. So Judah said, this is the Holy One, blessed be He, bring her out and let her be burned. For these actions were unprovoked, and no one has caused or forced her to do so, but of her own volition, as she chose to cleave to the lusting desires of her heart. The accusations have been presented, the claims have been heard, and judgment has been passed. Bring her out and let her be burned. She was taken out, and she sent to her father-in-law, saying, she, Israel, is taken out to receive God's judgment. As she sent a message to her father-in-law, Yehudah, the Holy One, blessed be He, in true regret and remorse, humbly stating that the accusations of the Satan are false. He lies. For he accuses men of cleaving to evil inclinations and lusts. But the truth of the matter is, from the man to whom these belong, I, Anochi, am pregnant. To the one whom gave me these signs, only to him do I cleave. La'ish asher ele lo Anochi hara. Every fiber of my being belongs to He who gave me these three gifts. She was taken out, and she sent to her father-in-law, saying, from the man to whom these belong, I am pregnant. And she said, please recognize whose signet ring, cloak, and staff are these. Ele lo. This is what it says. La'ish asher ele lo anochi hara. Ele lo is, these are his. Ele lo has the numerical value of 72. That is chesed. Grace, mercy, loving kindness. I am connected to chesed, grace, mercy, loving kindness for the creator of the universe. His very essence is that of chesed, to give. He created everything. What can we possibly give him back? Nothing. And to him alone do I cleave. But what we do as human beings, how we stray sometimes, each in their own way, to go against the will of the Almighty, is only, this is the words of the RA, is only due to the length of time in exile, in this fallen world, in this darkness, being pressed, the daily grind, and the difficulties of livelihood, the curse of Adam, and all other worries of man. That is why we sometimes stray. As God said, cursed be the ground for your sake. With toil shall you eat all the days of your life, and it will cause thorns and thistles to grow for you, and you shall eat the herbs of the field. With the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread. Bezeat apecha tochal lachem. Until you return to the ground, for you were taken therefrom, for dust you are, and to dust you will return. Ki afar ata ve'el afar tashuv. This is heavy, and yet still, this is not an easy trial to withstand. This decree holds until the end of the world as we know it. We all fall, no matter who we are. This is by design. But that is not who we are. That is not our essence. As we cleave to the essence of the Creator, who is mercy, chesed. The truth of our heart's desire is always towards our Maker, underneath all the schmutz, towards the Creator of all things. She, Israel, further said to the Master of the universe with a broken heart, presenting evidence of this undying faithfulness, of this undying yearning. Please recognize, she said, we said, haker na. Look for yourself. Do not rely on the contorted words of the accusers. Do not look at us that we dress like the nations, that we are foreign. Do not look at our externalities, but look at who we are, and you will recognize the truth of the matter. Whose signet ring, cloak, and staff are these? Signet ring, chotemet, hinting towards the oil of the candles, as the signet of the high priest was on every single container. And cloak, vehaptilim, this is how it says in Hebrew. It's translated poorly in English, but I'm reading you the Hebrew. Vehaptilim, hinting at the wicks, tilim, by which we light the Hanukkah candles. And the staff, vehamate, hinting at the cup, the vessel where the oil is poured, as it has the numerical value with the word of the word kli, vessel. These three things. When we light the holy Hanukkah candles, according to the will of the Holy One, blessed be He, this is a distinct sign, clear evidence that we exclusively pursue the ways of God and desire to cleave to Him alone, and not, heaven forbid, anything or anyone else. When we show God these signs, His signs, He recognizes who we are and who He is to us. As said, then Judah recognized, Vayaker Yehudah, and then declared not only to the accuser, but before all those witnessing this trial, the world. And he said, Tzadka mimeni, she is right. For all this is my doing. And look what she held on to. God is saying publicly to Israel, again, this is while she was being burnt at the stake, and what else could she do? She wasn't screaming out, help me. She lifted her eyes, said, it's all you. And that's why this was answered. So God is saying publicly to Israel that she is correct, that she spoke truth, and her actions coincide with her words. For I see the truth of the matter, that they only cleave to me, and no one and nothing else. Though they might fall at times and go against my will, is only because I did not give her to my son Shelah. And who is Shelah? if not a reference, a direct reference to Mashiach as prophesied to Judah from God via his father Israel in Genesis 49:10. The scepter, the kingship, shall never depart from Judah, nor the student of the law from between his feet until Shiloh comes, and to him will be a gathering of peoples. Shiloh has the numerical value of Moshe, mind you, who is known as the faithful shepherd, also a key part in Melech HaMashiach and King Messiah. May he come swiftly in our day. Amen. Achai HaYehudim, my Jewish brethren, this is the time to rise up and give all our trust to God. Light those candles as a proud Jew in the land of Israel, and not cowering behind the governments of the foreign lands that you are in, placing your trust on them to protect you from the inevitable destruction that is coming. Goodness. Lift your eyes to the Lord as you confidently say to your adversaries, enough! Like who? Like Yehudah HaMaccabee. Why are they called Maccabees? Do you know why? Maccabi, Mem Kaf Bet Yud. That was their very battle cry. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Who is like you among the powers, O Lord? Get it? Those four letters, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. They screamed as they advanced towards their enemies. This is not a battle we're fighting for our right to live as the nations within the nations. This is our final fight. This is the few against the many, the holy against the mundane, the light against the darkness. Remind God who you belong to, and let your actions speak even louder than your words. Our power does not lie within our own strength, but in our faith in God. I mean, you thought that a group of elderly priests started fighting against the Greek army, the mightiest nation in the world at the time? If you actually read the Midrash, it says they just held on to the swords, and the swords were going nuts. This is exactly what happened in the wilderness when God said, fight them, destroy them. You have to destroy the abominations, and that's what they did. The guys that did this, they were not muscle-bound gladiators. These were holy tzaddikim who spent the day learning Torah. That's why they went out to battle, and that's why not a single one of them died during the wilderness. Yes, these are different times. Okay, all right. So again, remind God who you belong to. Our power does not lie within not our Air Force, not our tanks, not our military, not our own physical might, right? Not by might nor by power, but my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. Remember, for the land and all its fullness thereof are the Lord's, the world and those who dwell therein. Psalms 24. Our power, our strength is that we are flawed, and yet despite our flaws as human beings, we make a conscious choice to take responsibility, shining light on the darkness. Yes, things were done. Our people did them. You have to expose this so you could fix it. Take responsibility, admit guilt, and course correct. Everything is about a tikkun. You are not going to sweep this under the rug. Like Judah, like David, like Mashiach, all are Baalei Tshuva. Look what Rabbi Yonatan ben Uziel says of the blessing. Yehudah, you did make confession in the matter of Tamir. Therefore, you see, you fell, you made a mistake, but you confessed, you took responsibility. Yehudah, Gever. Therefore, your brethrens confess you and shall be called Yehudim in your name. Where are all the tribes right now? Even Benjamin was still part of Yehudah, yet all of Israel today were called Yehudim, Jews. Your hand shall take vengeance of your adversaries, in throwing arrows upon them when they turn their backs before you, and the sons of your fathers shall come before you with salutations. I will liken you, my son Yehudah, to a whelp, the young of a lion. For from the killing of Joseph, my son, you did uplift your soul, tshuva. You did that and took responsibility. You became higher than what you were even before the sin. and from the judgment of Tamir you are free. He dwelt quietly and in strength as a lion, and as a mature lion when he crouches, who may stir him up? Kings shall not cease, nor rulers from the house of Yehudah, nor scribes and teaching the law from his seed, till the time that the King Mashiach shall come, the youngest of his sons, and on account of him shall the peoples flow together. David was the youngest of, he had 7, he was the youngest of 8, he was the 8th kid. How beautiful is the King Mashiach, who will arise from the house of Yehudah. He has girded his loins and descended and arrayed the battle against his adversaries, slaying kings with their rulers. Neither is there any king or ruler who shall stand before him. The mountains become red with the blood of their slain. His garments dipped in blood are like the outpressed juices of grapes. This is from Isaiah, yeah? How beautiful are the eyes of the King Mashiach as the pure wine. He cannot look upon what is unclean. That's why everything that is unclean in the world will be gone. Everything that is unclean, every lie, gone. It's all going to be exposed and expelled, dealt with, exterminated, unless we do it now. Nor on the shedding of the blood of the innocent. Every person that he is going to take out, they are not innocent, right? He doesn't touch the innocent. And his teeth, purer than milk, cannot eat that which is stolen or torn. Everything is according to God's perfect justice and judgment. And therefore his mountains are red with wine, and his hills white with corn, and with the coats of flocks. Brothers and sisters, we have so much to look forward to. We have a chance not only to witness these prophecies coming true, but to partake in them as Jews, because that is our purpose. That is our responsibility towards God and the rest of his creation as well. As said in Zechariah 8, so said the Lord of hosts, there will yet be a time that peoples and the inhabitants of many cities shall come. This is after all the abominations and all the falsities and false messiahs and false religions. Everything is gone. What are all the people going to do? And the inhabitants of one shall go to another, saying, let us go to pray before the Lord and to entreat the Lord of hosts. I too will go. And many peoples and powerful nations shall come to entreat the Lord of hosts. Where? In Jerusalem, and to pray before the Lord. So says the Lord of hosts, in those days when 10 men of all the languages of the nations shall take hold of the skirt of a Jewish man, saying, let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. Be proud in whose name you carry. My fellow Jews, prepare for this time. It is upon us. Prepare yourselves, my fellow Jews, and make it so. Thank you for joining me. Have a Chag Chanukah Sameach, and have a Shabbat Shalom. Bye-bye.